Several B-2 stealth bombers flew over 13,000 kilometers from the base in Missouri in the United States. All but invisible to radar, the plane is designed to fly anywhere in the world.
China dared to fire its most advanced interceptor, the HQ-29neo, against a US B-2 Spirit bomber, one of only 19 in the world. The missile streaked toward the aircraft at Mach 16, designed to kill stealth in a single blow. But instead of victory, Beijing got a shock. The weapon detonated early, sparing the bomber. That moment set off a chain of events that unfolded with surgical precision. What followed wasn't just a response. It was a test of resolve, one that erased China's coastal defenses in less than 2 minutes. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A missile designed to end the age of stealth suddenly malfunctions. Was it luck, design, or something else? China's HQ-29neo interceptor was never meant to miss. This wasn't just another hypersonic test. It was Beijing's answer to a weapon system that had baffled adversaries for decades. America's B-2 Spirit bomber.
Several B-2 stealth bombers flew over 13,000 kilometers from the base in Missouri in the United States, penetrate enemy airspace undetected, and drop its payload, all in a matter of hours.
The HQ-29 carried a reputation before it even left the silo. A Mach 16 interceptor with a dual guidance brain. One set of seekers, locked onto radar returns, no matter how faint, while an infrared sensor aimed right for the heat signature of an intruder's engines. It merged speed, precision, and versatility into a single missile, claiming to pierce the very idea of invisibility at altitude. China didn't just build a missile. It engineered a supposed counter to America's most prized strategic aircraft. That target, the B-2 Spirit, sits in a class of its own. With a service count of only 19 in the world, each carries not only advanced stealth, but also staggering symbolic weight.
Being refueled in the air before dropping the GBU-57, known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator or MOP, on target. All but invisible to radar, the plane is designed to fly anywhere in the world.
Losing one in combat wouldn't just be an issue of hardware. It would be a global shockwave. Generals know it, politicians know it, and enemies know it too. That's why the gamble to fire on a Spirit was unheard of, because attempting it crossed out of the realm of testing and into a calculated roll of the dice. If the missile hit, Beijing would deliver a message of power. If it failed, it risked escalation at a scale few decision-makers could fully control. The HQ-29, in theory, reduced that risk. Radar wouldn't always pin down the B-2, given its angled skin and radar-absorbent coating designed to scatter signals. But the Neo didn't rely solely on radar. Its infrared seeker tracked the tiny amounts of heat pouring from jet exhausts, even those minimized in stealth designs. Paired together,
the heaviest conventional weapon in the US arsenal, it weighs in at 13,600 kilos. Most of the weapon is hardened casing, the MOP punching to the required depth before detonating its 2,400 kilo warhead.
These systems gave the interceptor a new level of confidence. Where one sensor might lose contact, the other would hold firm. For the operators watching from Chinese ground control stations, the screen told a story of an intruder now visible, closing into their warded zone near Scarborough Shoal. From Beijing's perspective, this was sovereignty under assault, skies violated by foreign aircraft. Firing the HQ-29 in their framing wasn't aggression but defense. Imagine sitting in the cockpit of that B-2 when the warning indicators lit up. Someone had pulled the trigger, and the weapon rushing toward you wasn't just fast. It was faster than your eyes could process. Mach 16, clawing at the distance in seconds, with 200 kilograms of warhead packed into its nose. Every countermeasure on board, from chaff bursts to electronic jamming, felt like paper shields when measured against that speed. The countdown in your head would blur into instinct. The missile approaching, the cockpit crew bracing, the question hanging heavy. What do you do when time itself can't save you? Then, something strange. The HQ-29 closed, but not perfectly. At a fraction of a second before impact, it triggered early. The sky flashed behind the bomber, a shockwave rattling the Spirit and sending vibrations across its thin, carbon composite skin. It was violent, It was startling, but the jet was intact. No fireball, no wreckage plunging into the South China Sea. For Beijing, the near miss stung more than silence. It proved their weapon had come dangerously close, but also that its promise wasn't absolute. For Washington, it confirmed what planners feared. Anti-stealth interceptors were reaching maturity, but also introduced risks to the side that pulled the trigger first.
And is designed to destroy underground hardened bunkers and facilities, with the idea that the facility is destroyed. Only the B-2 stealth bomber can carry them, and even then it can only carry 2, piercing up to 60 meters of concrete and rock before exploding.
A single premature detonation had spared not only the B-2, but also guaranteed the stakes would rise. How does the U.S. turn an almost loss into decisive strength? That's when Operation Iron Dagger comes online. The U.S. didn't just answer with force. It answered with coordination that erased China's defenses in under 2 minutes. Planners didn't need weeks of preparation. Operation Iron Dagger was designed from start to finish in a 6-hour window. The near loss of a B-2 Spirit to China's new interceptor was a warning shot, but the American response was meant to show far more than retaliation. It was framed as a calculated strike aimed at neutralizing a single defensive node, proving that stealth and joint force coordination could eliminate the very system that threatened them. The balance of assets tells the story. On one side, an advanced interceptor battery valued in the hundreds of millions, carefully shielded inside hardened bunkers and supported by integrated radar domes. On the other, a formation built around 2 B-2 Spirits, the most secret aircraft in America's arsenal, backed by carrier-based F-35Cs, jamming platforms in EA-18G Growlers, extended fuel capacity from KC-46 tankers, and a fleet of MAL-J decoy drones. Alone, each platform had limits. Together, they created a network that could dismantle an opponent's defenses in layers, overwhelming every sensor link. That level of coordination turned one defensive node into a liability, because by concentrating strength in a single place, Beijing invited a concentrated strike. The deception began before the bombers even moved. MAL-J decoys, configured to mimic the radar cross-sections of lumbering B-52s, launched deep into contested airspace. To Chinese operators, the returns matched heavy bombers at altitude. Slow, obvious targets. At the same time, EA-18G Growlers prowled the edges of the zone, jamming surface radars until screens seemed filled with static and mismatched echoes. Tracked individually, every system made sense. Together, they painted chaos. Enemy crews, faced with the sudden surge of phantom targets, had too many options and too little time to determine which were real. In the shadow of that confusion, the B-2 Spirits advanced. Flying low and masked against night sky, they crossed the coastline without triggering alarms. Operators in ground stations strained to sort truth from noise, but on their scopes, the bombers didn't exist. Ghosts became more than a nickname. They were invisible until the first bombs fell. When the strike began, precision overwhelmed certainty. In less than 15 seconds, 16 guided bombs emerged from bomber weapon bays and tore into the key structures. Radar domes that scanned distant horizons collapsed inward. Launcher sites cracked open, silos destroyed before their systems could fire. A command bunker, reinforced, redundant, and believed impenetrable, lost communication in one direct hit. For the crews underground, lights vanished, systems went dark, and radios cut to silence as the network supporting their hypersonic interceptors disintegrated. The time was measured exactly, 88 seconds from the initial weapons release to the neutralization of every major node. In under a minute and a half, an air defense installation valued at more than $350 million was gone. What once created a hard barrier now left only wreckage on the coastline. Immediate results spread beyond smoldering bunkers. With the launchers and radars knocked out, a 120 nautical mile gap opened across the defense grid. Fighter patrols could sweep in unopposed. Reconnaissance aircraft would map with freedom. The gap mattered more than the strike itself, because for every commander watching, it proved just how quickly an intact defense could collapse under pressure. No attempt followed to escalate further. The strike remained limited, precise, fast, and confined to a single node. That choice carried a message: deterrence without reckless destruction. The US could dismantle parts of the defensive line at will, but it wasn't seeking wider conflict. For allies, the signal reassured. For rivals, it stood as caution. With defenses silent, applause came from Washington's partners, and adversaries took note of the cost that comes from testing American resolve. A single missile meant to showcase anti-stealth power turned into the spark for Operation Iron Dagger. Instead of damaging US credibility, the failed strike paved the way for a counterattack that dismantled advanced defenses in only 88 seconds. That outcome shifted the lesson. Hypersonic weapons, stealth bombers, and interceptors create undeniable tension. But the deciding factor wasn't who fired first. It was which side choreographed every asset into one synchronized blow. Think about how these confrontations shape deterrence in today's world. Share your view in the comments, and subscribe for deeper breakdowns of modern power dynamics.